Hey everyone, Faith here, and today I'm going to be reacting to Kapuchu MLP fanfic green slice of life. This was uploaded by Solar Pony. Oh, the original story's here. Okay, here's the summary. Only a few weeks had passed since the failed changeling invasion and the following banishment from Equestria. Celestia, wishing nothing but peace, requested the entire cosmos in her hive in an effort to sway her, to show her that there are other ways. She knows that convincing Queen Chrysalis that there are other ways than her own will be a difficult ordeal, but she was vowed to try regardless. Okay. So, here. Oh, darn it. Alright, we got this up to 50. Let me close the door so you don't hear the fan. Let me lock the door also. Okay. Just making sure it's locked. Alright. Let's do this. I'm trying Camtasia Studio right now. I'm on trial for another 18 days. It's the first time of me using it. So yeah. I'm trying it. I probably won't be able to afford this for a while after the trial expired, of course, you know. So until then, I'll have to use Bandicam to record, and you probably won't be able to see my face, but I'll try to save up for this Camtasia Studio 8. I'll try to save up for it so you can see my face more in reactions. But until then, sorry. But anyways, let's react to this. 3, 2, 1, go. And it made the screen go down instead. Okay.
Or Mother. Written Celestia walked the dark and damp tunnel that functioned as a hallway in the hive, silently marveling at how the green crystal in the otherwise sleek, obsidian-black wall seemed to glow with that eerie green light that had come to be known as Changeling's signature. She didn't show any outward signs of being impressed, but in the privacy of her own thoughts she found it intriguing, and couldn't help but wonder what exactly it was made of. They were obviously crystalline in nature, but were unlike any other gemstones that she knew of. Not unlike the goo-like prisons that she and her ponies had been held in during the invasion, but far more solid than they were.
Sorry about that, guys. Apparently there was an error and I had to refresh the page. Anyways, I was listening to it until about where we were at, so let's go.
During the invasion, but far more solid than they were. She huffily, bringing herself back to the matter at hoof. She wasn't here to admire the architecture. She continued to trot through the hallway, watching the occasional changeling shy away and hiss at her out of the corner of her eye. She couldn't blame them for their hostile, if cautious, reactions to her presence. She had, after all, been their greatest enemy for who knew how long. It was because of this that her face fell, and she sighed when one of the changelings lunged at her, bearing its easily 2-inch long fangs in an attempt to bite her. It never even got the chance, as Celestia's horn lit up like a beacon in the dank halls, blinding everyone save Celestia herself. When the light died down, the changeling that had attacked her was no longer there, gone without a trace. It was almost as if it had been burned away into nothing. The apparent death of one of their comrades only seemed to anger the other drones, the volume of their hissing increasing, and with it did the number of changelings lunging at her, only for each and every one of them to disappear in the same bright flash that had consumed the first one.
Okay, so obviously the changeling drones are very ticked off that she's here. I wonder if they'll all lunge at her at once at some point and defeat her. And then bring her to the queen themselves.
She should know, even weakened as she be, the way the queen of the hive would not notice my presence.
She took a turn and could see a brighter light at the end of the tunnel. She couldn't quite help the smile that made its way to her lips, unbidden as it was. Here she was, hoping to end a conflict that had gone for far too long, and the end of that conflict may very well take place just past the opening. One could even say that this was dying. It saw the light at the end of the tunnel. She stepped out of the tunnel and found herself in a large dome-like room, where the walls in the tunnels had been somewhat uneven with the black resin that seemed to cover everything. The black resin in this room was completely smooth, which, opposed to the tunnels, was not lit by small green crystals, but by a large hole in the ceiling. The light from the ceiling hit two massive green crystals twice the size of Celestia, placed on either side of a sort of walkway in the middle, bathing the room in the same light as the tunnels, but mixed with sunlight. It was strange, really, to see the changeling as a way of lighting their hive, seeing as it is representative of their enemy.
Or perhaps I'm just so anxious that I think they see the sun itself as their enemy, and not just me.
She glanced around, noticing the numerous drones looking out from various holes in the walls with their strange insectoid eyes focused on her. The hissing and general sounds of displeasure and outright hatred did not...
I'm actually starting to really like the description of the place and how they made it. I wonder where they got those crystals. Did they make it? I know they made it, but how?
not diminish in the slightest. Side changelings and the tunnels they looked out from, as well as the two crystalline light sources, there was only really one thing of interest in the room. Queen Chrysalis. She was currently lying on a raised dais with a pillow underneath her, probably stolen in a raid, and glaring at Celestia with the most baleful and hateful eyes the Alicorn had ever seen.
Come to gloat at your victory, have you, Celestia?
Chrysalis asked mockingly when Celestia came close enough to her throne to be heard.
I have not.
Celestia looked upon the queen, noting how thin and frail she seemed.
I had expected her to be weakened, but not to this degree.
She thought as her gaze quickly took in the state of Chrysalis. Both of her wings were bent and almost broken, clearly unfit for flight. Several of her fangs were broken as well, a few shattered completely. They would grow back, however. And lastly, even her once strong eyes of their confidence and strength. Instead, Celestia swore that she saw fear flash through them. Before disappearing, she stepped closer.
Okay, apparently. Did someone... Who beat her up? Clearly, it wasn't her own hive, but maybe it was from the raid that she stole the pill from?
Upon the dais itself,
I have come not to gloat or to taunt, only to talk, and to teach, if I get the chance.
Chrysalis snorted and looked away, resting her head on her front legs.
Talk? Why would the mighty Celestia want to talk? And what would you even be able to teach us? If it is about your precious harmony, then how every pony should work together and be friends and spare me. I've had enough of that from that captain of yours.
Celestia shook her head and sat down, magenta eyes resting on the pitiful form of the previously full queen.
No, not that either. I have no intentions of preaching my morals to you, nor do I think it would work. You are always too proud to let others simply tell you things, Aine.
Chrysalis whipped around, lips drawn back in a snarl, revealing broken and whole teeth alike.
Don't call me that.
Celestia just smiled, a small one with just the tiniest bit of mirth mixed into it.
As you wish.
She looked around, catching the eye of one changeling in particular. He quickly retreated back into the hallway from which he was peeking, only to reappear when Celestia...
Aine, who's... Did they used to be friends? Is that why she called her Aine? I don't know. They might have used to be friends, but I never heard anyone call Chrysalis Aine before.
They're hostile.
Are you surprised?
The changeling queen lifted her head slightly, trying to lock eyes with Celestia.
You incinerated their brothers and sisters when you came here. Did you really expect them to ignore that?
That piqued Celestia's curiosity. She looked back down at Chrysalis with an eyebrow raised in confusion.
I did not. You should be able to feel them with the hive mind. I only teleported them outside of the hive. I meant no harm when I...
Even as she spoke,
So she knew she was there and just let her come in. Why?
Chrysalis had dived into the hive mind and searched for any changelings outside of the hive. True enough, there were a dozen ones making their way toward the entrance used for one reason or another. She could only suspect that was because of the sudden teleportation. She nodded reluctantly, admitting that they were still alive and well.
True. You have done them no harm. Why?
At once, her eyes became sharp again, demanding even.
Because, contrary to popular belief among changelings, I suppose it is popular belief, I'm not entirely certain. I am not a monster, nor a killer. I will not deny that blood is on my hooves, but I do not take lives for no... They have attacked me, but what good would retaliating do me? I come here for a reason, and doing any harm to you or yours will harm my own turn.
Chrysalis sighed.
I suppose I have no choice but to listen, have I? It's not like I can force you out. And don't come and tell me that I asked you back then. I knew holding back.
Celestia just gave her a sad smile, neither confirming nor denying the accusation. Instead, she simply continued on.
You do have a choice, Chrysalis, but I would advise that you do listen. I believe it would be in your best interest, and mine as well.
Ugh. All right, I'll listen. Just get it over with so I can get rid of you.
Celestia smiled and stood up, motioning for Chrysalis to do the same and waiting patiently as she did so, though on slightly wobbly legs.
Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be for one of your lectures.
The alicorn chuckled and motioned around them with a hoof.
First, then, tell me what you see.
Chrysalis didn't even need to look around for more than a split second before she knew the answer.
Drones. Changelings. An army and workers at the same time.
And what are they to you?
Chrysalis frowned at this.
I told you, they are drones, workers and soldiers alike. Why?
That's all the answers I need.
Celestia's horn sparked to life, glowing with a soft golden light. Chrysalis instantly took half a step back.
Don't worry. I'm only going to show you something.
She lowered her head and adopted a pleading expression.
Please trust me.
With some reluctance, she resumed her former position, trying to look as prideful as she could when in truth, she felt defeated at having to and dare ask.
Well, she couldn't have thought that she was more to her than that. Like, what I'm trying to say is, I'm sure Chrysalis thinks of her own kingdom as more than just workers. She has to like them some other way. I mean, she has to feed them after all. And it's not, and the webpage is not responding again. Great. Hold on, I'll try to recover the webpage. Okay, right when I paused right when I paused the recording, it was like, okay, it's good to go. Oh my gosh. So what
She watched warily as the alicorn's horn shined ever brighter until, finally, it seemed to explode and bathe the entire room in a blinding light. When it receded and Chrysalis could see again, she found herself in a room which was obviously pony-made. It was white and smelled of something unpleasant, like it was too clean.
Sterile is the word, I think.
Behind the two were an open window through which blew a calm afternoon breeze. In front of them were a cupboard with flowers, a jug of water, and a glass. And beside that was a bed, upon which a light pink mare lay, with a tiny foal nestled against her breast. Chrysalis looked away from the ponies and let her eyes bore holes in Celestia's skull.
Who are they?
She demanded and, after a short while, asked again.
And why don't they react to our presence?
2 ponies. Who they are does not matter, and they can neither see nor hear us. I cast an astral projection. We're here only in spirit, not in body.
Celestia stepped closer to the bed and motioned for Chrysalis to do the same.
Tell me, Chrysalis, what do you see?
As she stepped closer, her eyes widened immediately. Even if she wasn't there in body, she still had all her senses, and that included her ability to sense love.
2 ponies, and enough love in both to feed 5 drones for a year.
A sigh escaped Celestia's lips. This wasn't going to be easy. Not that she expected it to be.
They are 2 ponies, true. But what are they? You say that you can feel a lot of love. But why can you feel that?
Chrysalis's brows creased into a pensive frown, her eyes turning skywards in contemplation.
I wonder what she's exactly up to. I know she's trying to change her, but why? Like, why is she showing them 2 random ponies? Oh, a pink pony. When I heard that she said a pink pony with a filly nuzzled up by her, I was thinking she was going to say, like, I thought she was going to say that it's Cadence and Flurry Heart or Skyla.
Now that Celestia had asked it, it actually got her thinking. Why exactly did she feel love for them? It wasn't that she didn't know how changelings felt love, but more that she was entirely sure why there was so much between those two. Finally, she shook her head back to Eve. This one pony was small, and all her drones were small to begin with.
Because her drone, and she loves the idea of all that work it will do, and what that work will end up.
Asked cautiously. Celestia shook her head.
No, that is not why.
She pointed with a hoof to the foal, then the mare.
I'm not changeling, but I can feel the love between them as easily as you would be able to. Look at how she looks at the foal, and how it is quiet and calm while held against her breast, while listening to the rhythm of her heart.
A smile made its way to Celestia's lips when Chrysalis looked at her in confusion.
She does not love the work that this foal, not drone, will do. The love you sense is the love there is between a mother and their child. While there are many kinds of love, as you may well know,
Chrysalis nodded.
this is the most powerful of them all. There's a saying that love conquers all. And when ponies speak of that, they usually think of the love between two sweethearts. But have you seen what some mares will do for their child?
Slowly, Chrysalis nodded, seeming lost in thought for a moment.
I remember. During the invasion, I saw some mares throw themselves in front of my drones to save the small ones, even going so far as to attack them with a ferocity I have only ever seen in wild beasts.
That
Celestia began, turning her head to look at the ponies with a fond smile.
is what we ponies call a mother's instincts. No matter what, we will protect our own. That foal is her child, not unlike what your changelings are to you. And she will forever love it, to the point where she will throw away her own life to save it.
She turned again, this time to face Chrysalis fully.
Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm showing you?
That love can make even a pony strong enough to beat down several of my drones alone?
Yes and no. What you're talking about can be triggered if someone you love dearly is in danger. But that is not what I meant. What I mean is that love is not just a source of food and sustenance, like how you changelings see it. It is an emotion and a force of good. It makes us do both stupid and wondrous things for no other reason than that we love some pony else. Tell me, Chrysalis, what are your drones to you?
Workers and soldiers. They expand the hive to a...
Great. Now we have to wait because it was buffering. Hold on, I'll pause the recording. Okay, I just resumed it. Right when I paused it, it unbuffered again, so I think it keeps buffering because of this recording.
and gather food.
Celestia, by the replancer from earlier, pressed on.
And where do they come from?
Chrysalis, not quite knowing where they were going with it, but finding herself in no position to refuse to answer, said,
From me, of course. I am their queen. I lay the eggs from which they hatch.
And do you not know where this foal comes from?
Chrysalis glanced at the tiny foal, feeling her chest tighten slightly at the sight, then turned back to Celestia and shook her head.
No. An egg, probably?
She wasn't going to admit it, but it had been centuries since she had been among ponies, and she had forgotten much about them since then, including how they bred.
No, not quite. That foal has been in the mare's womb for 11 months, until it was born just yesterday. It is, essentially, a part of her and the stallion whom impregnated her.
Celestia shot a look at Chrysalis out of the corner of her eye.
Is it not the same for your drones? You gave birth to them, so are they not a part of you?
A low growl rumbled in Chrysalis's throat as her hateful glare returned. It was aimed directly at Celestia.
I have had it with your confusing questions and dancing around the subject, Celestia. Tell me, what is your purpose? Why have you brought me here, and what is it that you think you can teach me?
She's ticked off.
Celestia's horn flared bright and the scene in front of them dissolved, replaced by a large domed room that functioned as Chrysalis's throne room.
What I want is peace, and I think it can be achieved by changing your view on things. What exactly are you to your changelings?
I am their queen.
But did you not just admit to them being the same as that foal was to that mare?
I did not.
Celestia lowered her head and looked Chrysalis in the eye with determination.
Your reaction tells me you did.
She straightened herself up again and adopted a milder expression.
You loathe to admit it, but changelings and ponies are not so different. Isn't that right?
Chrysalis grumbled something incoherently, still seething.
What I desire, Chrysalis, is peace. Peace that can be achieved if changelings change their view on ponies from a source of food to equals. We are not so different. Neither are ponies. I, like any other, crave love. If I am not loved, then I am nothing. You know what happened to my sister. Perhaps all you need is a little love of your own. Ask yourself this, Chrysalis. What exactly are you to your changelings? Are you their queen or their mother?
Chrysalis watched as Celestia gave her a smile, turned around, and walked away, towards the tunnel that would lead to the outside. As much as she hated to admit it, some of the things she said had made sense.
Perhaps. We aren't so different, after all.
She closed her eyes and reached out into the hive mind, giving it a cursory glance to see how it was. Tight, strict, obedient. With a sigh, she plucked at the string that connected her will to the rest of the changelings, loosening it. Having done so, she stood up and called to her a changeling making its way from one tunnel to another.
Yes, my queen?
It asked in a raspy voice, clearly afraid and confused.
Must be because it's new.
She righted herself and stood up, looking down her nose at the changeling.
I will give you a name.
The changeling looked up, surprise evident in its eyes as it shakily stood there.
Name? But I'm only a drone. I live to serve and do as our queen commands.
I am not only your queen. I am also your mother, Zenith.
Zenith.
The changeling tilted its head, confused.
Your new name.
Sorry if you're hearing thumping, but that's my brother, Layla upstairs. Yeah, that's technically it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you guys next time.